Hello everyone, and welcome to another movie review. So, a few days ago, I watched the new recent film, Evil Dead Rise. Now, I am a fan of the Evil Dead movies because they do a good job in scaring me, and not everyone else gets scared when they see Evil Dead, but I like watching the originals because they visually look amazing and scary, that they make me feel uncomfortable. Evil Dead Rise is about two sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons battling them for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of their family. Okay, I'm just gonna say what I honestly think about this movie. I think this movie is amazing, and it's pretty brutal, just like the previous Evil Dead movies. We discover a Necronomicon and an evil force possesses someone, and scary and disturbing stuff starts to happen, and that's what's great about the Evil Dead movies, that there's messed up bloody imagery, and this movie did have like some comedy in it, and including some dark comedy in it. But just like the classic original movies, this movie doesn't fail at being scary, bloody, brutal, and dark just like the other Evil Dead movies. I think everybody in this movie did a very good job. The movie is well acted. Everybody in here has good acting. It wasn't horrible or bad acting or anything. There's also like creative shots, like peeking through a keyhole, and it also looks visually good. It makes the movie look kind of dark and scary. The movie is pretty dark and brutal, just like I said before, but I really want to talk about the messed up scenes and the deaths in this movie because they were a lot and they were really insane. So in the beginning, just what happens, there's someone who gets their scalp ripped open from their head, which is in the beginning. There's a scene where Bridget is eating glass, then gets lighted on fire, which is pretty scary to watch someone eat glass, and I'm like, that glass is gonna get stuck in your throat, and it's gonna hurt when it goes through your stomach. Because this kind of possession that happens in the Evil Dead movies leaves, then turns you into a normal human. And can you imagine like feeling that glass in your throat and in your mouth? But she also gets burned alive in here. Also, there's a part in this movie where someone's leg is getting grated by a cheese grater. Yeah, that's right, a cheese grater to the leg, which was so intense to look at. I was like, oh lord, not the cheese grater. There's a part where Ellie, the mother, kills all the neighbors in the apartment building, which is scary to even look at, and even if you were living in that apartment, which would be more scarier. And there's a scene where she chews an eye and spits it out on another person, and the person like dies choking on the eye, which wasn't that disturbing. It was just disgusting and bloody. I mean, I don't know if it was meant to be like humorous or made me feel uncomfortable, but it was just disgusting and bloody. My favorite part in this movie was the part where the elevator was filling up with blood, because once the elevator doors opened, we see all this amount of blood come out of the elevator, which reminded me of a scene in The Shining where blood comes out of the elevator, and it was just a cool scene to watch, because as someone who loves horror movies, I love seeing all that blood in a rated horror movie. I love where all the dead people in the building become alive and become these dead-eye creatures. Cause you see, that's the title. They're dead, then they become alive. And another thing I like in this movie is that it takes place in an apartment building. I think this was a great setting for a horror movie such as this, like Evil Dead, to take place in, because I was expecting, to be for an apartment building to become a bloody dark mess and see it become a scary, creepy setting at the end. And the whole apartment building just seems like a fun, cool place for an Evil Dead film to take place in. Also glad that we're not having it to take place in a cabin in the forest anymore, because we just need to take a break from cabins. The first two Evil Dead movies take place in a cabin, and I'm just glad we're away from a cabin. But now it's time to get into my problem with the movie. So my problem with the movie is that this actually is taking place in an apartment building, in which I don't have a problem with, like I said before, but it takes place in Los Angeles, and around this apartment building, everything around it just looked lonely, which I don't know why everything around it looked lonely when it's in Los Angeles, which is probably one of the cities that where there's always everybody out in the streets, and we don't see anyone. Everything just feels isolated around this apartment. So my other problem with this movie is the whole solution in the end, and how the whole solution is solved. I mean, the whole killing, the whole creature of the Deadites that morphed into each other and pushing it into the wood chipper, blood splattering everywhere into walls, turning the whole parking lot into red. There was basically lots and lots of blood in this part, and that was a good scene, okay? But they don't get rid of the Necronomicon like they do in the first movie. They burn it, they don't destroy it, they don't burn it, they do nothing. They just forget about the Necronomicon and just leave. And it is set up for a sequel, which I don't have a problem with it. I would love to see Evil Dead get more and more sequels. I would love to see a Evil Dead universe. That would be pretty epic to see. I want to see more bloody, gruesome Evil Dead movies in the future that maybe could take place in maybe a school or maybe a prison, or how about a boat cruise, like a vacation getaway boat. That would be a good place for an Evil Dead movie in the future to take place in. So overall, I think Evil Dead Rise is such an amazing, intense, brutal movie I've seen so far this year. You would be very disturbed watching it if you can or if you dare. So for Evil Dead Rise, I'm gonna give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. Well, actually I changed my mind. I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10. Evil Dead Rise brings back those fun, gory, gruesome, bloody, scary, frightening, humorous moments from the original Evil Dead movies. And I love that. I loved all the other Evil Dead movies in general. I love this one the most. The whole movie doesn't hold back in being like, sensitive, less gruesome and everything. Like it just crosses the limit of disturbing you and making you sick to your stomach. Like it's just straight up very, very intense. Like it's very, very intense and doesn't step back from being very intense. And may this movie have a universe because I would love that. So that's my review on Evil Dead Rise. If you watched the movie, comment down below what you thought of the movie. Did you like it or didn't like it? Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.